So, hi, I'm Cathy Simmons, and a very, very warm welcome to tonight's online event. I'm really looking forward to tonight for a number of reasons. Firstly, we're talking about a subject which is something I think a lot of us kind of really struggle with, and it's certainly what I would say is a challenge for a lot of therapists. And the second reason I'm looking forward to it is because we have the lovely Holly Worton with us, who is a business mindset coach and all-round lovely person. So welcome, Holly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Here. And thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us tonight. And this is a subject that you know a lot about, so looking forward to it. I know you're going to say something about yourself, but I just want to put in a couple of words. See, one of the really interesting things about Holly is that she's a Psych K practitioner. And I know myself and a lot of other people that are going to be on this call will be really interested in knowing just a little bit about that. So I asked her to say one or two words about that. And the second thing that's really interesting about Holly, and forgive me, Holly, if you're going to say this, is that she is quite a prolific author.
Oh, yes.
And I've been reading some of the books. So check her out on Amazon. There's some really, really good books out there, especially around business intuition, about getting back in touch with your intuition in terms of business. It's something I'm loving that book.
Yay.
So I just wanted to pop that one in. Hope you don't mind saying so. But people haven't come on here to hear me speak, so I'd love to hand over to Holly now and invite her to share her slides, and let's dive right in.
Okay, perfect. So let's get the slides out. Showing my screen. Can you see that?
I can see that perfectly.
Perfect. All right.
It'd be nice if people could just type in the chat box that they can hear us and see us okay as well.
Okay, perfect. And then let's see.
Great. Thank you, Debbie.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. So I'm just moving the chat box over so I can see it as well. All right. So welcome. Thank you very much for joining. We're going to be talking about how to find the best prices for you and your business. What Cathy and I talked about before we got started was that if you have any questions during the content portion of this, just type them into the box and I'll kind of keep an eye on that as I'm talking, and then I'll answer your questions as I go. And then we've got time at the end for question and answer where we can unmute you if you'd like to actually talk to us rather than typing in your questions, and then we'll discuss pricing that way. So if you're ready to get started, let's just move on. So is this you? Are you feeling undervalued? Now, this is one of the things that I hear a lot from the women entrepreneurs that I work with. They've got prices that don't feel right for them. They feel uncomfortable with the prices and they feel undervalued. So they've set prices that feel safe for them, but they feel really icky because they know that their prices don't represent the value that they can offer and the results that their clients get. Maybe you're not making very much money or not as much money as you'd like, and maybe that has to do with your prices. Maybe you're feeling frustrated, stuck, disappointed. This is another thing I hear a lot from the women I work with in terms of how they're feeling about their business. And a lot of this has to do with their prices. Their prices are just not feeling right for them, and that makes them feel just really just sad and disappointed with their business. Or maybe you're just feeling generally unhappy with your prices, but you don't know what to do about them. You don't know, you know the ones you have aren't right, but you're not sure how much you can increase them, how to increase them, when to increase them, where to increase them. It can be a really delicate topic for a lot of coaches, therapists, practitioners, because we want to help people. And sometimes the mindset stuff gets in the way around pricing, because a lot of times we feel like, you know, because we want to help people, we shouldn't necessarily be charging high prices. A lot of stuff can get in the way with pricing. So are any of you feeling this way about your prices right now? Are you feeling undervalued, feeling like you'd rather be making more money? Are you feeling disappointed, unhappy with your prices? Has anyone got any of this going on? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So how do you feel about your current prices? If you had to sum it up in one word, what would you say? Disappointed, unhappy, frustrated? Silence. Frustrated. Frustrated. Yeah. I know what that's like because I've been through that when I was first setting up my business, just really feeling like, on one hand, you've got people charging like crazy prices, like really high ticket prices for things. And you think, ooh, that sounds nice, but also really just totally another world from where I am. And I just want to raise them a little bit, but it doesn't feel right, discordant, uninspired. Yeah. I've been there. It's really, really difficult sometimes to set prices. Sorry. If you don't have a system to help you set prices that are right for you. So my next question is, how would you rather feel about your prices? Would you rather be happy with them? Would you rather feel like they're aligned with you and your energy and your business? How would you rather feel about your prices? Value for money, right? Like your prices represent the value that your clients get from your services. Anything else? Okay. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. Top pricing mistakes that I see my clients making and other people making. Why pricing can be so difficult. Why does this bring up all of our stuff, our mindset stuff? How to know if your prices aren't right, and how to set the best prices for you. Because I feel like there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And there's so much stuff out there going around about prices and how to set the right prices. So hope to give you a different perspective with this and help you set the right prices for you and your business. So a little bit about me. I am a Psych K facilitator, as Cathy said. And I've been in business for many years, since 1999. My first business was very, very different. I had a business partner. We had eco hotels in Latin America. So we had a product. We're providing a service, but it wasn't me personally. It wasn't a solopreneur. There were so many other people working in the business with us. And I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was so much easier than being a solopreneur in the sense that it didn't dredge up all of my fears and blocks and limiting beliefs in the way being a solopreneur has. So after about 10 and a half years in that business, I quit, took some time off, tried to figure out what I wanted to do, trained as a coach, trained as an NLP practitioner, and started up with a coaching business. And that was when all of my stuff came to the surface. All of my I'm not good enough, pricing stuff, how can I, low confidence, low self-esteem, it just all kind of bubbled up to the surface, and it made it really difficult for me to market my business. And at the time, I was using my coaching skills to help women entrepreneurs and also authors learn how to use social media to market themselves. So I had all this really practical business and marketing knowledge, but I wasn't putting it into effect the way I should have because I was so terrified of being visible. I was so terrified of putting myself out there because my business was all about me. I was the face of my business. And from there, I trained because I had all this stuff going on, and it was just, I was feeling stuck and frustrated and not working through it and not knowing how to do it. And I had done other kind of therapies with other practitioners. Nothing was really shifting it. And then I discovered Psych K. And it was recommended to me by a friend who's actually a psychiatrist who had trained in Psych K years ago, and really recommended it to me as a way to shift the stuff that I was experiencing. And I did the basic workshop, I did the advanced, I totally fell in love with it. I did the health and wellness, I did the divine integration retreat, I did the pro, I did all the training, and then I went back and did all the training again a second time. And so I started using it with myself and started seeing massive, massive shifts in my life as a result of it. I started seeing just my confidence was boosted, my self-esteem. All my fears of visibility were slowly dropping away. I was seeing massive, massive changes in my life. And so I decided to add this to my social media business, because a lot of the women that I worked with who were doing my social media trainings, they needed to learn the technical part of social media because they didn't know how to market themselves. But their bigger problem was fear of visibility, fear of putting themselves out there, fear of marketing, fear of sales. And so the site K was able to help them with that side of their marketing and business. So I was used to say that I would help people with social media from the inside and the out, because I did the practical stuff, but also the mindset stuff. And it eventually got to the point where I realized that my favorite part of my business was the Psyche part of my business, not the social media part. So I ended up leaving the social media about a couple of years now, I think, and just focusing purely on Psyche. So what is Psyche, you may be wondering? It's a technique that I trained in here in the UK, but most people haven't heard of it. It's not as well known as other techniques. It originated in, I think, the mid-'80s in the US with a guy named Rob Williams, who kind of downloaded this information of this process that helps you to reprogram your beliefs at the subconscious level. So you're focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want, and you're programming intentions, belief statements into your subconscious to make it easier for you to take the actions that you need to take to achieve those things. And there are certain balances that you use to also release fear, to release blocks, to release limiting beliefs. But it's very forward focused. So it's focused on what you do want rather than what you don't want. Happy to answer any questions you may have about Psyche, but it's a bit difficult to explain unless you experience it. So it's got a number of different kind of balances, which are the different techniques that are used to reprogram these beliefs, and you use muscle testing to determine which of the balances you're going to use. The K in Psyche comes from kinesiology because you're using muscle testing at every step of the way. So you're muscle testing to see whether or not you hold a particular belief, then you go into the balance, and then afterwards you muscle test again to confirm that you now hold this new belief. So I love it because you get that really clear confirmation of, what do I believe? What do I not believe? Is it working? Yes, it's working. So yeah, it's fun, it's easy, it's fast, and I love it. So.
Yes, I remember, Holly. Sorry, I remember when you moved from the social media into the Psyche. And yeah, it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. I love it because it's easy. It takes between 2 and 5 minutes to change a single belief. The steps are really, really clear. It's not complicated. I don't like complicated things. I like easy things. So I've found this to be, and I feel like everyone kind of has their preferred therapy or technique that's right for them. And when you find it, it's like, ooh, everything clicks and falls into place. So I feel like this has been my thing. So I'm happy to answer any questions either now or at the end if you have any questions about Psyche or how it works, but that's not what we're here for. Let's talk about pricing, how to find the best prices for you and your business. So top mistakes I see people making: comparing their prices to other people's prices. And I think this is something that people do at every stage of their business. I mean, we do it when we're starting out. We do it when we've been around for a while. It's so easy to say, oh, well, I'm a hypnotherapist, or I'm an NLP practitioner, or I'm a coach. Let's see what other people are charging. And so we go online and we do a bunch of research, and we look at people in our area, and we look at people that we've trained with, and we look at everyone and see what everyone else is training or what everyone else is charging for what they do. And sometimes we'll go with the average, we'll go, just pick a random number, or go with the higher end or the lower end. How many of you have done this? Please raise your hand or just let me know, because I know I did it in the beginning. It's just,
yeah, we've got quite a few people raising their hand there.
Yeah. It's so easy, and it's kind of I think the default way, that we start out with setting prices. Check out what other people are doing. But the thing is, what the prices that are right for other people are not necessarily the prices that are right for us. And we don't know what's going on for other people. We don't know what their mindset stuff is. So maybe these other people have really a lot of limiting beliefs, and so they've kept their prices low because they've got a lot of stuff they need to work through. Or maybe they've already done the mindset work and they're like so far beyond, they feel comfortable charging higher prices. So it's really not effective to compare our prices to other people's prices because they're not where we are. They don't have the experience that we have. They don't have our experience, our background, our training. Everyone's different. And the mindset stuff as well. They're going to have a different mindset. Competing on prices. So looking at what other people are charging and charging less because we want to be the lowest price person. And that's not also very good because people don't necessarily want the cheapest therapist. Obviously, they want something they can afford, but they're probably not price checking when they're looking for a hypnotherapist or another person to work with. They want someone who's going to help them get the results that they want. So competing on prices might work for a commodity like, I don't know, tools or home improvement stuff or food, basic food items, but not for this kind of thing. And pricing too low. One of the most common things I see is therapists pricing too low because they don't value themselves, or they're scared, or they don't want to be the highest priced person. They might feel uncomfortable with high prices. And that's something that's really common. A lot of people really feel like they need to price low because they're just not comfortable with high prices. Have any of you experienced that kind of ickiness of, oh, I don't want to charge more, I don't want to be the highest priced person, or I don't want to be a higher price than someone that I've trained with?
Yeah. Yeah, we have some.
Pricing, it brings up all of our stuff. So why is pricing so difficult? Oftentimes we just don't trust ourselves. We don't trust that we have enough knowledge, we have enough experience to set prices that reflect our value. We might not have confidence that we can get clients' results, even though we've gotten clients' results in our training, in our practice, when we do swap sessions, if we've done that at the beginning. A lot of times we have money blocks, limiting beliefs, stuff that gets in the way of us setting prices that reflect our true value. Self-esteem, that's another part of it. And undervaluing ourselves, not valuing the results that we get for our clients, and not valuing the massive transformation that people can experience as a result of working with us. Do any of you feel like you've been guilty of undervaluing yourselves, or not that your prices don't fully reflect the difference that you can make in people's lives?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes we have fears of change, because changing prices can be scary too. If we're used to charging low prices for our services and then we want to raise them, we think, oh, well, what will people think? I'll lose all my clients. No one will come and work with me. Lose my clients. Colleagues. I remember when I first set my prices in Site K, I was pricing significantly higher than a lot of the people that I trained in. And that triggered other people's stuff sometimes. I remember having conversations with people that I trained with, and they said, oh, I saw your prices on your website. And I was like, oh, yes. Well, I muscle tested on them, so I know that they're the right prices for me. And still the person saying, oh, well, but what if people can't work with you, or what if they can't afford you? Like, do you ever do free sessions for people? And I could tell that I was triggering their stuff, and it was in turn kind of triggering my stuff. So even though I was super confident that I had the right prices, it was still like, ooh, but what if? because I had trained with these people. We had the same amount of training. We had the same amount of experience, but I was charging more because I could see the value of the work that I was doing. And I had muscle tested on it, so I knew it was right for me. Fear of success. I've worked with so many entrepreneurs who say that they're afraid of success, and they always think they're like the only one who's afraid of success, because it's common knowledge that a lot of people have a fear of failure. But when people find out that loads of people have fear of success, they think, oh, that's weird. I'm not the only one. So yeah, a lot of people do have that fear of success. So Joe says, is that prices dictated by insurance companies? So do your insurance companies have like a price range that they require you to charge? Yes. Oh, interesting. Okay. So that brings a whole new element into it, because if you can't charge over a certain amount, then that's really going to limit you. Very, very interesting. Okay. So physio. Okay, physio, that makes sense. Okay, so what are your biggest fears around changing or raising your prices? Just wanted to hear from you and see what's going on for other people.
If I might just put something in, a lot of my clients often say, well, if I put my prices up, then people won't be able to afford it. There is that belief that people won't be able to afford, and I've experienced that myself too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Debbie says, no one will buy that I can't deliver. Clients will find it too expensive. Anita, the number of clients that can afford it. Half worried that I'm not good enough, half worried that I don't charge enough. Yeah, that's a difficult one, because it's like two sides of the same coin. It's too much, it's not enough. Yeah. Pricing brings up our stuff. So how do you know if your prices aren't right for you? So they might just not feel right. It might be an issue of you feel resentful when your clients pay you. And this happened to me once in a similar kind of thing. I had always had my prices in pounds, but then there got to be a time where I felt like I needed to be more international, because I do see clients in all parts of the world, because I see most of my clients on Skype. So I thought, well, I should put my prices in dollars. And this was before Brexit, so we had a very nice exchange rate. So I changed my prices to dollars. And then this one day, the exchange rate kind of shifted. The dollar was not doing well. And I got a payment in on PayPal from a client. And the exchange rate had shifted so much since I had set my prices in dollars that I got much less money than I had originally calculated in pounds. And I just felt like, I don't want to be making that little money. Like, what just happened? And I just felt like I was, on one hand, excited to be working with this person that signed up with me, but the other hand, just really resentful and upset that because I had set my prices in another currency, I wasn't getting the amount of money that I wanted. So if you're feeling resentful when your clients pay you, either because you have a weird currency exchange problem, or because you've just set low prices and you're not feeling happy about getting that payment, that's a big sign. And I've heard that from a lot of clients as well. If you feel underappreciated, like if you feel like people just think you're the cheap therapist because you're not charging enough, or if you're in a race to compete on low prices. I remember one time in a Psych K training, this woman telling a story about how when she first did her training, she put an ad in a magazine and got her first client through this ad. And she gets through the session with a person, and the woman goes to pay her. And she had put her prices as £20 for a session. The woman gives her 200, and the facilitator goes, "Oh, no. No." She gives her 180 back, and she says, "No, it's 20. It's not 200. You've got that wrong." And the woman said, "No. In the ad it said 200." And there was a misprint in the ad. And it said that the session was £200 and not £20. And she said, "I wouldn't have come to you if I thought it were £20, because that doesn't sound like something that's going to be worth my time, worth my effort, worth my energy. I'm not going to go to a therapy that costs £20. I saw that it was 200. I thought, oh, well, if it's 200, it must be good. It was good. I'm happy to pay it. Take it." And that just completely reframed this woman's perspective on what she could charge and what she was asking for, because she realized she had tried to be the cheap therapist, but it wasn't right. She wouldn't have gotten this client at £20 because this woman wouldn't have valued it. So competing on low prices, not the right thing for therapy in most cases. So how to set the right prices? So they need to be right for you, not what's right for someone that you trained with, not what's right for your trainer, not what's right for the other therapist down the street. they need to be right for you. They need to feel aligned. They need to be something that when you say your prices, you can actually state your prices rather than saying, oh, I charge £150 an hour, but I can give you this discount if you like, or I can give you a cheap package, or I can. How many of us have done that? Where you state your price and then you kind of double back before the person even has a chance to respond. You kind of double back and go, oh, but if you book today, I can give you 50% off or whatever. I think so many of us have done that. And I've heard that from clients all the time, that they just don't feel comfortable stating their prices. You need to feel excited when the money comes in. So you sign up a new client, the money comes through on PayPal or in your bank, and you're really excited because you're making money for this amazing thing that you do. Now, the right prices might be a stretch. So your current prices might be in your comfort zone. Your new prices might be in a stretch zone. But if you're in a panic zone where you can't even put them on your website, you can't say them to people, they might be too high. So I think we might have the goal that we want to make, like we're making here, we want to be making here. But if that's in your panic zone, it's just not going to work for you because it's not going to feel aligned. So, maybe kind of work your way up there. So raise your prices a little bit and then raise them more in a couple of months when you feel comfortable with that. I've worked with a lot of clients who have tried to set much higher prices because a coach told them they needed to do so or for whatever reason. And they've just been so out of their comfort zone, so beyond the stretch zone that they didn't work for them because they were too scared to even put them on their website. So how many of you have done that before? Set prices that were just way beyond what was comfortable for you and couldn't say them aloud or couldn't put them on your website?
Not so many.
Not so many, okay. Are most of you kind of stuck in the low, stuck in the low price zone?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the general message is that your prices should feel energetically aligned, even if they feel like a stretch. So when I set my first prices, I felt like they were a stretch, but they felt right. Like I was a little bit scared, but they still felt like I knew they were right. So let me ask you, how would your business or your life or both be different if your prices were more aligned to the true value that you offer people? How would things change? You could work with less people at a deeper level. You'd feel that you value yourself better. Yep. And if you value yourself more, then you feel better about your business. You feel good about what you have to offer. So how to align with new prices? Question to ask yourself, can you easily share your new prices? Is it easy for you to pop them up on your website, to share them with people, to let your clients know that you're raising your prices next month or at the end of the year? Is it easy to share new prices with new potential clients when you're on a discovery call? How easy is it for you to share new prices? Do you believe you're worth it? And I think this is an important question. Do you believe that you're worth it at the conscious level and at the subconscious level? Because sometimes we have that conflict. And what would need to change so that you felt aligned with these new prices? What do you need to believe about yourself? Or what do you need to believe about the services you offer, the quality of the change, the transformation that you get people? What do you need to believe so that you can align with these new prices and easily state your prices for people? Now, before we move on, I want to ask, how many of you self-belief gets in the way? Yes. How many of you have prices, like an idea for prices that you want to raise your prices to or change your prices to? You don't have to put them, yeah, okay. So you don't have to put them in the comment box if you don't want to, but write them down if you have a piece of paper with you. So just make a note of what your prices are now and what you would rather have them be instead. And just ask yourself these questions. Do you believe that you're worth these new prices? What would need to change in your business or your life for you to make this change in your prices? And what do you need to believe about yourself so that you can change these prices and feel aligned with the new prices, most importantly? And if anyone wants to share anything, you're welcome to share. How about you, Cathy? How was it for you when you first started with your business? What kind of pricing stuff have you gone through?
I think I started with no clue whatsoever. And I went through, I think I looked locally. Mm-hmm. I was actually, the place I was practicing from was a local dentist, and I know that the previous hypnotherapists have been charging a certain amount, so I charged the same. And then I went through that when my colleagues were saying, really, you're charging that much? And then I went through, oh my God, that's too much.
Yeah.
So I certainly, I certainly did go through that. I love what you're saying about that alignment with it.
Well, they need they need to feel right, even if they feel a little bit scary. Yeah, and I remember at one point I was charging more than my trainer, than my instructor. Yeah. And because she was undervaluing herself. Yeah. And I knew that my prices are right, but I still felt like, how can I do this? How can I be charging more than her? She's been doing this for 10 years longer than I have. And that can be really scary as well. So, okay, so Barbara says, I need to demonstrate what I'm offering for the price. Okay, so how do you need to demonstrate that? Do you need to demonstrate it on your website, in your discovery calls? Or do you need to demonstrate it with yourself? By getting testimonials, more testimonials. Bit of both, okay. Debbie says, I need to communicate the value in an easy and integral way. Believe in myself and my results. Self-belief, lack of, also gets in the way. Yes, 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 yes. I find that when we have that lack of self-belief, obviously doing mindset work, whatever technique it is that you choose to use, whether it's hypnotherapy or Psych-K or whatever, that is what has helped me the most in feeling comfortable with my prices and feeling that I do have, I'm worth this. But also getting those testimonials. Another thing that I see a lot of therapists just not getting testimonials. You've got to ask for them. Most people don't automatically offer them up just to you. You need to ask. And you've got to get to the point where you're comfortable with asking for them. But if you've got those testimonials on your website, or if you've got like a folder of nice things that people have said about you on your computer, reading through those, that is proof that people have gotten value from your work. So how many of you need to get more testimonials for your whether it's for your website or just for you getting feedback from clients? When was the last time you put a new testimonial up on your website? And as I say this, I realize that I need to kind of go through and ask people as well. Ages ago, yeah. It helps. What I find really helps is getting writing kind of templates for them. So I've got kind of cut and paste things that I can just cut, paste into an email, personalize it for the person, and it just makes it easier rather than having to go through and write it from scratch every single time, because I know it's this thing that I've used in the past and it's gotten me results. It's gotten, feedback from people. So
the other thing that's quite useful, if you've got a great email from somebody saying, I got this amazing result from working with you, you can then obviously take out any sensitive bits and send it back to them saying, would you be okay if I used this?
Yes.
And they can say yes or no or tweak it a bit. And
exactly.
it's much easier for them than to think of, what do I write?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people will say, oh, what format do you want? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to include? And so if you also know what kinds of things you want people to include, you can say you might want to think about how you were feeling before, how you were feeling after, what changes you experienced, how this changed your life, that kind of thing. But give them some kind of guideline. It makes it easier for them to give you that testimonial. So Barbara says, I ask all my clients when they finish with me, lovely to read through, they encourage me. Yes, that's how it should be. Perfect. Okay, so one of the techniques that I have found to be most useful in terms of setting prices, and this is something that I absolutely trust, it helps me find prices for my products, for my services that feel right for me and that feel totally aligned for me, is muscle testing, which is no surprise because that's what I use. So it's a completely integral part of my business and the Psych K, the work that I do with people. So muscle testing works you can use it with myself, I can use it with other people, and I can do it on Skype because I go through a surrogation process that creates kind of an energetic link up between myself and the other person so that I can do the muscle testing for them. So before we get into kind of discussing pricing a bit more and our experiences, I wanted to invite you all on a free pricing call to help you find the best prices for you. So what I do during this call is I muscle test. You give me kind of what prices you have, what prices you would rather have instead, and we muscle test to see which are the best, most aligned prices for you and your business. And then we can talk about how to upgrade your prices. What is it that you need to believe? What is it that you need to change in order for you to upgrade these prices? It's not a sales call. So it's not one of these discovery process things that I'm going to walk you through and then say, and then you can work with me. If you want to work with me, great. If you don't, it has nothing to do with this. This is just 30 minutes with me. We'll muscle test, find your best prices, and then we'll have a chat about what you need to do in order to change those prices. So if you'd like to sign up to it, you can sign up at my website, hollyworton.com/pricing. And again, that's a free call, not a sales call. We'll play around with your prices and see what works for you. And then see what comes up. Sometimes I've had it come up that people's current prices are right. Very rarely, though. Usually it's that people need to raise their prices. That's the most common thing that I've seen. So, questions? Anything you'd like to discuss? This is where you can either pop your question into the box, we can unmute you, we can talk about pricing, whatever you like.
I think that is such a cool offer, Holly. Seriously, I really do. I might take you up on that myself.
Oh, please do. Please do. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I love it. I just had one this afternoon, right? Not long before this.
That's a great question. Sorry.
Should you display pricing on your website? Okay, so everyone's going to give you a different answer on this. I say yes, because people then know what you're charging. I would never email someone to ask how much they're charging. I go into someone's website, I see that they're offering this thing that I want, I look, there's no price, I'm not going to email them. I'm just going to find someone else. And I think a lot of people are like that as well. Don't make people jump through hoops to work with you. If you know what you want to charge, or you know what you're charging, put it on your website. And then people can opt in or opt out. It also makes it more likely for people to sign up for discovery calls with you, because if they know that your thing that you're charging is £10,000, and they know that's way beyond their budget range, then they're not going to waste your time with a discovery call. But if they know that you're offering a lower priced package for £500, well, then they might be more likely to connect with you and work with you. People have such massive ranges in prices today. Some people only offer high ticket items. Some people offer a range of options. My voice is doing weird things. And it can be really scary or intimidating for people to email you and say, oh, I'm interested in working with you. How much do you charge? And then have to feel embarrassed because your prices are so beyond what they're willing to invest at the moment. It's uncomfortable for people. So I think you should display pricing on your website. How do you feel about that, Cathy?
I'm not sure. I think probably what the work I've been doing is slightly different.
Okay.
In that I've been working with smokers, because it's almost seen like a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
Then people, if they're seeing all the prices, they're only choosing by that. So in that case, working with smokers, I don't, because I want them to really understand what I'm offering that's different.
Okay.
So I completely see where you're coming from on this. It works very well, I think, in my case, but I'm not saying that's right for everybody at all.
Yeah.
But for the smokers, it does, because I spend a lot of time with them. If someone comes along and says, how much do you charge? Well, I'll go back and say, I won't necessarily really just give the prices. I will say, this is my speciality. I'm not one of the cheapest, but I'm more than happy to spend some time on the phone with you, explain how it all works with absolutely no commitment whatsoever. And generally they follow up with that. So it's not been a big deal, but no, it's interesting.
Yeah, good. No, I'm glad you have a different perspective on that.
I'm not saying that's right for all circumstances at all.
Exactly. Everyone's got their own answer that's right for them. How about,
I see where you're coming from completely on that. Someone's not going to, they're not necessarily going to pick up the phone if they don't know whether it's going to be £20 or £2,000.
Yeah. And so many people are offering high ticket items these days that it's kind of like, oh, well, I've wasted your time. I've wasted my time. I could have found someone else that was within my budget. How about everyone else? Does everyone else here display their prices on their website or not? And why? And if anyone would like to be unmuted so you can ask me a question, we can do that too. Or a comment.
I think so. I think if you want to be unmuted, I think you have to put your hand up, and I think that gives me the chance, or you can unmute yourself, I believe.
Always display, Debbie says. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, as I feel people will be put off. Okay, all right. So tell us, why do you think people would be put off by your prices? It's good to get some different perspectives here.
I think there's also the matter of whether or not it's seen as, I'm selling my services by the hour, or whether someone is selling a package where you actually need to discuss with that person. Again, sorry, I don't want to hijack this, but
no, go ahead, please.
Working with different types of addiction, I might speak to someone with alcohol issues. Once speaking to them, then I felt I would feel like a package may well be different to someone who just uses cocaine in a very contextual way.
Yeah,
I would come up with a different, what I believe is the different optimal way, without giving them the extra pressure of having to talk about pricing at the end of each session.
Yes.
So I think, again, it depends on that.
And I think that's very interesting. I once interviewed a woman for my podcast who does not have set prices. She always creates bespoke packages for each individual client, because she has the discovery call with them. She talks about what their goals are, what they want, what they need, and then she comes back to them and says, look, I would recommend this. But she does not have fixed packages. So that's another way of working. If you're creating bespoke packages, obviously you can't be putting your prices on your website. You can say, a sliding scale, a range, but you can't be very specific. So let's see. Although I don't charge a high fee, people who contacted me for my prices mentioned that it was too expensive for them. Okay. All right. Any other questions about pricing or about muscle testing or anything?
I'd be interested to know how many other people use muscle testing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Please pop your comment in the box. Have you ever used muscle testing? And what do you do? Do you use like your hands? Do you use pendulum? What do you use? Have used my fingers. Intriguing muscle testing. Never heard of it. Ooh.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, it's fun. So, Cathy, why don't you share what your experience has been with muscle testing?
Okay, well, in our hypnotherapy training, I know there are some people on this call that trained at the same place as me, so they're familiar with it too. We were introduced to pendulum work.
Yeah.
Okay, which is similar. In some of the other trainings I've done, I was then introduced more to muscle testing, things like EFT, for example. When you're muscle testing on someone else, I don't know if you can see this on here, but yes, by someone's putting their arm out, they match the pressure. I don't think that's coming across on camera. And I've loved that in the room. I actually had a client once who came and said, well, how will I know this has worked? So we did some muscle testing on the belief beforehand, and we did the muscle testing at the end, and the difference was amazing. He went away knowing it had worked. Now, none of us really would know until he was in that particular situation that used to cause the issue.
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting. So I love it. I struggled a bit doing it for myself, and I had to try a few different ways. And there are lots of different ways. Actually, Holly's got a great podcast on this.
Yes.
About the different ways you can use.
And a YouTube video.
And the YouTube video, yes. And I actually found that really, really helpful because not all of them, I'm not really telling you. It's a way of basically getting a signal, like you might use in hypnotherapy, ideomotor signals. It's a way of getting a signal from, if you like, our unconscious, our higher self, our whatever you like to call it, as to whether we are aligned with the thing we're saying or not. So you'll get a strong response. It's like our muscles are stronger, aren't they? When we're aligned with the thing we're saying. Sharon uses ideomotor signals. So I absolutely love it. But to find one that worked well for me, it took a while before I would trust it, to be honest. But now I'm really, really happy that I'm feeling it. There's some great questions here.
Yes, there are. Okay, so if anyone has any specific questions about muscle testing, I think Cathy's done a really great job of describing it. So you're using your body, whether it's your fingers, your arm, if you're working with someone else, or a pendulum, to ask yes or no questions. And you either get a strong or yes or a weak or no response. And so in Psych K, we use it, as I said, to test whether or not you hold a particular belief or not. And then you get that confirmation that you've made that change at the end of the session. So Sybil says, how about working internationally with people whose earnings are significantly less than ours in India, for example? My prices are my prices no matter where people are in the world. But the reason I feel comfortable with that is because I offer so much free stuff to help people out. So I have my podcast, which is absolutely free, which is massive amounts of information, which will help people with their business mindset. I have my books, which are not free, but they're very low cost, and they're full of really useful information. Blog. I mean, I've got so much stuff out there that's either free or low cost that can help people that way. But if people want one-to-one work with me, my prices are my prices, and they're not cheap. But they're not like out of this world crazy expensive either. So I don't know. I mean, it's different for everyone, and I think it depends on where the majority of your client base is located. So if the majority of your client base is located in India, you might want to either have a second set of prices or price your services to whatever feels right for people in that. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Cathy?
I feel that it's a really good, really interesting one because I suppose I've had similar things in that there are people that used to come to me for addiction issues, and trauma issues. I do a lot of work with trauma as well, who are just not in any situation to pay anything. And yet, in some cases, they're not getting the help from the state in a timely manner that would really help them. And if I feel that my prices are right for the service I give, and I'm almost looking after that first as a business, because it is a business, I'm not doing this as a charity. On the other hand, if that's going well, I can then choose who and when I do something different for, and maybe give something to in a different way. So where there are people, I'll give you an example for servicemen and women who have suffered from PTSD or
Mm.
for want, I don't mean that to use that as a label, but you know what I mean, who are, that's something I offer for free, but I don't advertise it because it's something that's close to my heart, and I feel if the rest of my business can support that, that's how I can give something to another sector. That's how I feel about it. So.
And how has that worked for you? Because I, for a while, was offering kind of lower kind of pay what you can when I had extra time in my schedule to clients who had expressed interest in working with me but couldn't pay. And I found that those people did not get the same results.
Yeah.
They weren't doing their action plan. So we do a lot of work changing beliefs, but everyone goes away with an action plan of like real life action steps you take to show your brain that you're ready for change and that you're willing to take action to make a difference in your life. These people were not doing their action plan. They were just kind of going away and just doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so they weren't getting the results. And so I ended up stopping these lower cost services because it was so frustrating because they wanted, you know, to change their lives, but they weren't willing to do anything to make the difference. So
absolutely. And I had exactly the same thing with this, exactly the same thing. So I would basically choose the people I worked with in that way very, very carefully. Yeah. And there, you know, obviously I get people were so desperate that I knew that they would do the difference. But also you find something else that they commit to doing.
Yeah.
And you want evidence that they've done this thing. That would mean them getting out of their comfort zone, giving a bit of what they have, even if it's not physically money.
Yeah.
And finding a way that it's almost like a barter, but you know, but not. So yeah, but I too do totally get that. I mean, when I moved from working in the room with clients to working exclusively online, for a while there was a crossover where I wanted to really, really make sure that this stuff was working right, you know. And so I was offering services initially. I worked with some people for free, and then I gave, you know, massive discount because they were helping me out. And then technology problems. You're absolutely right. Did I get the commitment? Did I get the results? Those who started working with me online who were paying the same prices were getting the same results. It was working amazingly well. So yes, I have completely got that. But there are ways around it. You can choose that person very carefully, and you can find other ways that they can contribute in some way.
Yeah. Very interesting comment here. So it's complicated. They clearly earn a fraction of what we do here, of course. So I gave them a big discount for 5 sessions. Guess what? They did not turn up for the last session, despite me reminding them of the time difference and that I was waiting for their Skype call. There was no awareness of wasting my time. And now they're asking for a replacement session.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, question for you. Did you have a kind of a contract or a client contract or client agreement that you had them sign stating your rules and regulations around missed sessions or late sessions? Because that can also kind of help set the boundaries for the relationship, and then they know what the results are the consequences are if they don't show up. And I think when we do make these exceptions in our prices and offer special lower prices or no cost sessions to people, we need to be extra, as you said, really be careful when we're picking clients and be extra clear about the boundaries and the agreements for. Yeah, I clearly misunderstood this. Yeah. It's disappointing because it's like we want to help people, and when we have that extra time on our schedule, we want to help people who can't afford us, but it's rough when they don't step up and do kind of their side of the deal.
Very much so. What an interesting discussion. I wasn't expecting to go here. I think it's really useful. Really useful, Holly. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, and I think the discussion is actually even more important than kind of the content that I gave, because that gets us thinking about all the different individual aspects of it and what to do and what not to do. And it made me wonder whether the fact that I'd offered a reduced rate had made them undervalue it. Yeah, that was the conclusion I came to with the clients that I'd done those lower cost sessions with, because they just weren't taking the action, despite the fact that they said they were ready, willing, and able to make changes. They weren't, because they weren't doing the action plan. So Joe says, it's very frustrating that the insurance companies can set pricing, which kind of sets pricing for the physio industry. I have a great deal of experience in further education that is not reflected in pricing. Yeah, that is a very different situation, and one that I was not aware of. So does anyone else experience this with set pricing by their industry? Or is that just in the physio industry? So Joe, is this something that the NHS sets, or is it private health insurance companies? And is there any way you could get around that? I mean, is there any way you could offer something different, like a different kind of package? Private, yeah. NHS sets top pricing. Okay. So is there any way you could get around that by creating maybe for other types of clients, maybe a bigger package or something? You charge different. Okay, that makes sense. So you can charge different prices for private clients. That's good. And maybe there's a way you can create some kind of packages or something that reflects your experience and your education and makes it maybe more than physio, or expands beyond physio, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. So maybe there's a way you can kind of package that up with something else that forms a part of your education and experience and kind of helps you get around that. Good. Specialize in chronic pain. Well, yeah. So if people are experiencing chronic pain and they've tried other things and nothing else has worked for them, I'm sure they would, if they can afford it, be happy to make an investment in. I mean, I know I've experienced not necessarily chronic pain, but chronic health issues in the past, and I've just put all the money I could at it because I was just ready to get rid of it. So does anyone have any other questions about pricing or about anything else? I'm just going to put my website up here. If you need to get off the call, or if you have any questions at a later date, you can find me at hollyworton.com. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, whether it's about muscle testing, PsychK, pricing, whatever. It's holly@hollyworton.com. And, oh, good, Debbie's booked a private call. Great, it would be good to speak with you again. So, again, it's hollyworton.com/pricing. If for some reason you forget this link or whatever, you've got my website. You can email me. There's links to the pricing call on my website, or just get in touch and say, hey, I want to sign up for one of these things. And like I said, we're just going to play around with your prices. We're going to talk about what's the best price for you, what you need to believe to make that happen. Not a sales call. It's a discovery playtime kind of thing where we talk about prices, and you'll see me using my pendulum. If that's it, thank you everyone for showing up. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. If anyone's interested in the slides for this, I can save them as a PDF and send you the slides. So if you want the slides, just email me and I'll just pop you back an email with a PDF of the slides. So thank you for showing up, for participating, for asking your questions, for sharing your experiences. And, oh, I've got another question here. Karen says, I had a look at PsychK online, but I couldn't get clear answers. Do you do the training, or are you one-to-one? So I do not do the training. There's currently only one trainer in the UK for PsychK, and her name is Cathy Dare. I'll type it into the box. And her email is yearning, or her website, for learning, I think it's .co.uk. So she's the PsychK trainer. And yeah, there we go. There it is. So I do one-to-one work. I'm a PsychK facilitator, but not a trainer. So if you're interested in training, which Karen said she was, take a look at Cathy, and she's fabulous. She does training mostly in Cardiff and London, but she does travel elsewhere because she's the only trainer in the UK at this time. So I was just about to sign off, Cathy, before you came back on. So if you have anything else you'd like to say, I've wrapped it up, and I've thanked everyone for coming, and here we are.
So, well, what can I say? It's been amazing. Thank you so much, Holly, and apologies for disappearing like that.
Okay.
I think what I really love about all this is the importance of being aligned. This, to me, for some reason, has been a huge theme, if you like, of my life in the last few months, and this really, really kind of speaks to me. So thank you so much, and for your generous offer. That's absolutely amazing. I hope you guys take Holly up on this.
That'd be fun.
And so thank you again, and I just want to thank everybody for coming along and spending their time with us tonight.
Thank you.